Kathy Wertheim, one step. One step, Kathy Wertheim.
My father told me that when he was in the Marines, they would line up all of the men and they would ask for volunteers. And the old-timers would take one step backwards. And anyone left in the line was a volunteer. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. So we began this meeting with a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said that success is when you've made one person's life better. And that's what I wanted to do. So as a young woman, I moved to Washington, D.C. And while I was living there, did I take my father's advice about volunteering? No, of course not, because I was young. I walked into an organization called Recording for the Blind and Dyslexic, and I became a volunteer. We made tapes of textbooks for blind and dyslexic students. Make me read a book? Oh, twist my arm. I loved it. And I met my best friend, David. David had a PhD from MIT. But surprisingly, MIT does not teach you how to get a girl. So I volunteered to teach him how to get a girl. It took 6 years, but he got a girl. He got a good girl. And so he got married. And in the wedding, he asked me to be his best man. Now you may say I don't seem to have the credentials for a best man. I will remind you, as the bumper sticker sometimes says, the best man for the job can be a woman. So there I am at David's wedding. I'm the best man. My sister comes to the wedding. She's living in Ventura. I'm living in Washington, D.C. The wedding's in D.C. She comes to D.C. for my best friend's wedding because when she was going through college, David had taken a step forward and volunteered to help her with her homework, long distance by phone. So my sister and her husband are at David's wedding. And there's a couple there, and they have a little baby. Now, in this story, nothing happens past this point if baby Jacob hadn't been a peaceful little baby. So my sister says to this couple with baby Jacob, "You probably haven't danced since your own wedding. Why don't you and your husband go and dance? And my husband and I will volunteer to watch your baby." Notice how she volunteers her husband. Her husband does not volunteer. So there's baby Jacob, peaceful, blonde, blue-eyed baby Jacob. And Alice sees that David is temporarily not dancing. So she runs off to go dance with David, leaving her husband with baby Jacob. Peaceful. Very critical to the story. Peaceful baby Jacob. Now, how long is a dance? It's 3 minutes, maybe? Her husband's alone with peaceful baby Jacob for three minutes. And she comes back and he says that word that would change his life, her life, my life. He looks at this baby and he says, "I want one of these." And my sister says, "You're kidding me, we talked about this." And they went back to Ventura, and they tried, and they tried, and they tried for several years. And my sister did not give her husband one of these. She gave him 2 of these. She had twins. Oh, I forgot to mention, she's my twin sister. Her twins are the 3rd generation of fraternal twin sisters in our family. And I look forward to the day when a young man comes to the door wanting to date one of these little girls. Because I will say to them, "How do you feel about babies?" Twins run in the family. Because like most adults, I want these girls to be virgins until they're 30. Then they can do whatever they like. And so I volunteer to come to Santa Barbara, or to Ventura, for a couple of weeks to help out. That was in 2004. I'm still here. Because my mother's messaging about my sister and I being twins is, twins are hard. And you know what? Twins sorry, Mom, didn't listen. So I'm still here volunteering. And as it happens, in Santa Barbara, there is a chapter of Recording for the Blind and Dyslexic where I first met David, and I go in, and there's a volunteer there. And she says, oh, you're single. I have a friend, Joe. I could set you up with Joe. And I said, no, I'm a spinster. I'm happy being a spinster. I don't need to get married. I had a bumper sticker on my car. Here it is. It says, why do I have to get married? I didn't do anything wrong. It took her an entire year to get me in a room with Joe. And when I did, it was magic. And today, Joe and I are married. And for the area contest, as I brought this book with this bumper sticker, my husband said to me, you still have that? And you look at everything in this story that has to line up so that I end up in Ventura with Joe. I don't listen to my father about the Marines and volunteering. I volunteer. I meet David, who's a volunteer. My sister volunteers to take care of the baby. I go to Recording for the Blind in Santa Barbara, and I meet a volunteer, and she volunteers to set me up with my husband. Everything has to line up. And there's 2 points I want to make here. And the first is that volunteering can change your life. I urge you to try some volunteering. It changed my life to volunteer. But my second point is something I learned from this Toastmasters series of contests. I had thought that my father's message was, take a step backwards. The volunteers are the people who don't take a step backwards. Well, my father was in the Marines in World War II in the Pacific. He fought in 2 of the toughest battles. He was in both Guadalcanal and Iwo Jima. His company took 97% casualties. And why was he there? Because after Pearl Harbor, he volunteered. Mr. Toastmaster.